Hello and welcome, operators, to another episode of the Sitrep podcast. I am your host, Ariskini Jim, and today's episode is commemorating the 82nd anniversary of the Great Blitzkrieg in the West. I'm talking about Case Yellow, or Fall Gelb, if you want to say it in its native German, where Germany turned finally to the West. After messing around in Poland in obviously September of 39, and then Scandinavia in. Let me turn off this fan here. And then Scandinavia in April of 1940, after the Phony War or the Sitzenkrieg, however you want to say it. We then come to the main event. Some people kind of theorize or have the opinion that this is kind of where World War II really started. There were some opening moves. Again, we're talking about Poland. We're talking about Russia versus, or the Soviets versus Finland. We're talking about the Scandinavian campaign. Not to draw too many parallels to modern events, but the Russians also went into some of the Baltic states. I think it was in April of 1940. Anyway, things finally kicked off for real, at least on the Western Front here in May of 1940. They went into 4 countries at once. So most people who are familiar with our podcast already know most of this information, so I'm going to go through it super fast. But of course, we have Case Yellow. This is the big sickle cut, as Manstein called it, the big sickle cut plan, where we have the German offensive coming in from the south as opposed to the north. And I'll show you what I mean in just a second. Especially if I can get my drawing tool to work. Yes, I know that. Okay, cool. So in 1870 and also in 1914, the previous 2 times Germany had invaded helpless, or not so helpless, France, as we're going to find out today. We had a variation of what history kind of remembers as the Schlieffen Plan, or the von Schlieffen Plan. And this is basically a giant right hook. So, of course, we have Germany over here. We have Holland, Belgium, and Luxembourg. And the Germans are basically slashing down in a big hook, bracing one flank against the Channel coast, and they're trying to get to Paris. Okay, obviously. That's the way they did it in 1870. That's the way they did it in 1914. This is sort of the way they originally had planned it, believe it or not, in 1940. Infamously, a plane carrying a complete blueprint of this plan lost its way, crash landed somewhere, I think it was in France, and the planes were captured by either French or Belgian police, or territorial troops, something like that. So the Allies had a complete copy of the German plan, like months in advance. Needless to say, the Germans had to come up with a new plan. They knew they had lost their plans. So they said, okay, we can't use the plan we were going to use. We have to come up with something else. And this is when Manstein, who had been lobbying over and over and over again for a different kind of plan, had been ignored. In fact, he pissed off people on the OKH and the OKW so hard, they eventually promoted him out of the way. They gave him command of a corps and put him in Poland somewhere. Like the occupation troops in Poland. They were like, just go there and have fun at your desk. Meanwhile, Manstein's plan sort of fell back into favor when the original plan had been compromised to the Allies. And the reason Manstein's plan was not was not being received well by the General Staff is it called for, instead of a right hook out of the north, it called for a left hook out of the south. Something like this, the exact opposite. The idea being, let's split the center of the Allied line, let's slice off the whole northern wing of our opponents, and pretty much hit them where they ain't, as many people say. We're avoiding the Maginot Line, which kind of only starts around here. Oh, it's literally on the map already. I'm sorry. This thick blue band here. That's the Maginot Line. And it's bypassing that, and it's bypassing the main belt of the most powerful Allied forces, namely French First Army, French Seventh Army, the Belgians, and the British Expeditionary Force. This is probably the toughest part of the army in the West. And they did that because they knew they had this huge defensive works down here in the south that they could kind of hide behind. And they knew that here they've got all these rivers, and we've got this big patch of woods called the Ardennes, or, yeah, the Ardennes Forest. Stop me when this starts to sound familiar. The Germans did this exact same thing 16 December 1944, and they almost got away with it again. And it's a high-risk operation where, okay, here's where you have to gamble. On the one hand, sort of a 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. On the one hand, by striking through the most difficult, nasty, tank-unfriendly, tank-hostile, motorized, problematic, pain in the ass terrain, woods, there's river after river after river going across your axes of advance here. Plus all these woods, plus jagged terrain, plus hills, elevation, valleys. It's the absolute nightmare of tank country through here. By doing that, you're going to get the enemy by complete surprise, and the enemy's going to have almost no tanks there. That's the good news. The bad news is, again, you are striking intentionally through the most hellish tank terrain that, on God's earth. So it's, okay, what kind of risk do you want to take? Do you want to hit the enemy where he expects you in the nice, broad, flat tank country, or do you want to, accept bad terrain and hopefully get the enemy by surprise? It was a high-risk operation, fortunately for the Germans anyway. They had guys like Guderian there and Hoth there in charge of 19th, and I think Hoth had 15th Panzer Corps. Oh, they didn't call them Panzer Corps. Motorized Corps, they didn't call them Panzer Corps yet. They effectively were Panzer Corps, but they just didn't use that name yet. Hello, Rasmus. How you doing? But we had guys like Papa Hoth, as he's often called. No, it's not pronounced Hoth. It's not an ice planet in Star Wars. Hoth, and especially Guderian. And I can't remember, I think it was Hoth, where Rommel was command of 7th Arm, or 7th Panzer, I should say. Again, Rommel's only one Panzer Division commander out of like 7 Panzer Divisions in these 2 Panzer Corps, and that's where the big smash comes through. So, cool. No worries there. The problem is, let me just turn off my drawing tool here for a minute, clean this area up a little bit. They had to make sure that the Allies were going to remain where they were deployed. They had to make sure that the enemies were going to remain in the trap, so to speak, fixed forward in these Belgian defense areas. So the Allied plan was, because Belgium was trying to remain neutral. So Belgium would not let British or French forces deploy in Belgium. They thought that was going to antagonize the Germans to attack them all the sooner. So what they had was something called the Deal Plan, and it's named after a river, which I can't quite find in here right now. But the idea was, it was called the Deal Plan, and it was, okay, if the war starts, all the Belgian forces along the Belgian border right here, they know they're not going to stop the Germans, because it's Belgium versus Germany. I mean, come on. No disrespect to Belgian forces, but that's just not going to happen. The plan was Belgian forces are going to fall back immediately to what was called there it is, DYLE, the Deal River. So they were going to fall back to the Deal River because they weren't even going to, stop the Germans. Meanwhile, French, British, and more French, again, 7th Army, the BEF, and the 1st Army, were going to push forward to the Deal line. And they were going to meet up at the Deal line, kind of just like that, and set up a nice, strong, combined 3-nation defense all at once and meet the Germans halfway through Belgium. Well, guess how well that worked. It didn't work very well at all. Because you have a plan that you are never allowed to, what's the word here? You're never allowed to rehearse this plan during peacetime the way NATO does nowadays, constantly with Reforger and all these constant exercises they're always running in the Baltics and Poland nowadays, and so on and so forth. They're constantly running all of these readiness exercises to make sure they can do just this. When the moment comes, and you're not going to get any warning, when the moment comes, you can drive forward with 750,000 people, God knows how many tanks, trucks, aircraft, every other friggin' thing, push forward and actually have all the roads picked out so that too many divisions don't wind up on the same road. There's not a big log jam. Everybody has fuel. Everybody has oil. It's a huge, huge undertaking. It's not like throwing all of your families, it's not like throwing a beer cooler in your trunk and driving down to the beach. Okay, you got to move hundreds of thousands of people and tens of thousands of vehicles. It's a huge pain in the ass, and you're doing it while being bombed and under artillery fire and not knowing where the enemy is and all this other stuff. It was never rehearsed. This plan fell apart almost immediately. So that leads into today's game. What happens is the Belgians don't really fall back to the DO line. They pretty much evaporate. The ones that manage to hold together sort of retreat too far because they get hit really hard. Some of them get cut off and they fight bravely, but they get cut off and annihilated or reduced and made to surrender further forward in Belgium. And as a result, there's no cohesive retreat back to the DO line as originally proposed by the Belgians, British, and French. Meanwhile, the British and French are rushing forward into Belgium. They're trying to enact the deal plan, but the Belgians don't speak French, and the French don't speak Belgian, because Belgium has multiple languages. Some of it speaks French, some of it speaks, I think, Flemish. The English don't care. The British don't care. They don't speak either language. It becomes a huge problem. And again, this plan was never rehearsed. So what winds up happening, before I talk too long about this, is... And this leads to a huge event. Sorry for the pop there. This leads to a huge, there it goes again. This leads to a huge event that we're going to game a small, very, very small part of today. And that is, one of the more powerful, well-organized, and mobile French forces. Yes, the French were in places well-organized, heavily armed, and most importantly, highly mobile, and commanded by, people who have their head and ass wired together, actual aggressive, semi-badass commanders. One of them was by the name of Henri Prioux. He commands 2 DLMs, that's Division, hold on, I'm going to mispronounce this 100 different ways. Division Légère Mécanique, basically light mechanized divisions, is what it, my French is terrible, I apologize for that. But that's pretty much, what they're going for there. They've got 2 of these divisions. I've got their orders of battle here, already translated into Panzerblitz or Panzerleader. This is off the website that some of you may be familiar with. This is gregspanzerblitz.com. Go check it out. It's a great website. It's not complete, but he's got a huge part of especially early war stuff on there. It's a great resource. I use it all the time. So huge shout out, big ups to my man Greg at gregspanzerblitz.com. That site's been there for years. Like I said, most of you guys probably already know about it. But 2nd and 3rd cavalry divisions, or light mechanized divisions, whatever you want to call it, of the French Cavalry Corps, they drive forward to do the deal plan, okay? And they're waiting to run across the Belgians, because they're supposed to meet the Belgians coming the other way. Well, like I said, the Belgians were having all kinds of other problems. The Belgians basically aren't there. So they keep going. And they're like, we're going to run into the Belgians eventually. They keep going. They still haven't found any Belgians. We're going to run across the Belgians eventually. Meanwhile, Reichenau's 6th Army, this is the same 6th Army that would be annihilated at Stalingrad in 2 more years. They smash through with a big infantry offensive across these canals and rivers. The big Battle of Eben-Anal, that's the very famous airborne and glider assault that we hear about all the time. That all takes place. They capture all those bridges, and he sends through Höpner's 16th Corps, 16th Mechanized Corps. So this is Erich Höpner. They called him the Old Cavalryman. I'm pretty sure he would eventually be one of the main guys who actually plots to assassinate Hitler in 20 July 1944. I know Rommel gets all the credit for that. Rommel knew very, very little, if nothing at all, about that. Höpner is one of the main guys who actually did not only know about it, but drive it forward. Of course, he winds up at the end of a piano wire. But anyway, I think he does. I don't think he survives the war. I could be wrong about that, though. Anyway, that's off topic. Anyway, right now, he's got 2 Panzer divisions. He's got 3rd and 4th Panzer divisions. And this is back when a Panzer division was still a Panzer division. This is before they reorganized them in preparation for the war in Russia. when each Panzer division had not one, but two, count them, two Panzer regiments, not one, built together in this case, 5th Panzer Brigade. So the Germans walked away from the Panzer Brigade idea very, very early in World War II. Pretty much they had a few divisions with actual Panzer Brigades in them in Poland, and then they toyed with it a little bit here in France. Then next year comes Russia. Hitler says, we have 10 Panzer divisions. In order to attack Russia, I'm going to need 20 Panzer divisions. I need 10 more Panzer divisions by the end of this week. Of course, that's impossible. How does the German staff get around that? They say, well, we're just going to get away, or we're just going to do away with the whole idea of Panzer brigades. We're going to divide all of our Panzer divisions into just one Panzer regiment. Poof, you now have double the number of Panzer divisions. And then, of course, they fill it in with mechanized infantry, artillery, and all that stuff like that. It's not quite as simple as I'm making it sound, but the point I'm trying to make here is that German Panzer divisions in 1940 were still at full, originally intended in the 1930s rearmament programs, order of battle with, again, each division built around a brigade, an integral brigade of panzers built around two regiments, not the usual one. Later on in the war, the Germans are going to get back into Panzer brigades, but they're like 1944 and forward. But that's going to be a separate detached unit. That's basically because they're so beat up by that point, they can't afford to build divisions anymore. So that's a different kind of brigade. Here, it's brigade the hard way. Brigades, two regiments, bolted into a permanent Panzer division. This was pretty serious business. That's what made the Panzer divisions badass in 1940. What made them horrible in 1940 are the actual tanks that they had available, and they had some awful ones. Mark 1s, Mark 2s, two different divisions. I think 7th and 8th were still rocking around with the Panzer 38T Czechoslovakian tanks left over from 1938, 1939. Yeah, so they had a lot more tanks, just much worse tanks. Anyway, Höpner's moving forward with his two divisions. He's broken through. The infantry's trying to catch up. He's doing what panzers are supposed to do. The infantry, the artillery, the airstrikes, they've smashed open the Allied line. They've opened up a breach, and now it is holy hell, hell for leather, go, 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 as fast as the tracks will spin, go as far as you can, and grab some of these river crossings, especially here at Gamble. Get these river crossings so that when the infantry can catch up, and the rest of the Corps and the rest of 6th Army catches up, you can then leapfrog onto the next objective, probably this canal. And the advance continues. So there we go. The problem is, through empty, unoccupied, not a battle line, not a battlefield, just misty, fog at dawn, kind of open Belgian countryside, we have two German Panzer divisions just pretty much on a friggin' road trip, going forward to the west. Meanwhile, you've got two French light cavalry divisions, armored cavalry tanks basically, driving forward, same empty open terrain, wondering where the hell the Belgians went, going the other direction. 13 May, they collide in what is largely regarded as history's first real tank battle. History's first real tank battle. I know tanks were involved in World War I. They almost never fought each other. In World War I, tanks fought each other exactly once. Villers-Bretonneux, I think it was 24 April 1918. There was exactly one German tank, an A7V, versus 3 British tanks. Mark 5s, I think there was 1 male, 2 female, or maybe that's reversed. So a grand total of 4 tanks. They shot at each other for 10 minutes. They couldn't destroy each other. Everyone left. That was history's first actual tank engagement. That's not exactly a battle. That's less than 1 total Panzer leader counter on both sides. Okay. Then you've got some tank action, sort of. 2nd Panzer ran across some Polish 7TPs during a night engagement somewhere in Poland. Like a couple battalions, mixed it up a little bit. Not that big a deal. No real big tank versus tank combat in Scandinavia. The Danes didn't have any, and nobody really brought a whole lot of tanks up to Norway. The first time you have multiple divisions in an operational scale tank battle, and this is what I'm talking about, especially if I can scroll here. Whoa, sorry about that. Especially if I'm able to scroll here. You have multiple divisions in an operational scale size tank battle. Boom, this is the Battle of Hannut / Merdop. Again, my French and Belgian are terrible, so I'm probably mispronouncing those names. As you can see, they have second DLM here. The second DLM wasn't that involved, especially on the first 2 days. They got mixed up a little bit in the third day. Really, the bulk of the battle is carried by third DLM, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. As you can see by this green box, we're not going to be doing the whole battle, not even close. So here's another view of the same battle. Again, these are the dark gray arrows, so German dispositions and movements on the first day of the battle, 12 May 1940, and then into the lighter arrows on 13 May 1940. This is what we're going to be looking at today. Mostly second. Oh Lord, I was just looking at this. Also, my French is atrocious. Second Cuirassier Regiment. That's all these twos. These little armor boxes with twos by them. Here's a better map. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all subunits of 2nd Cuirassier. They're attached, directly to 3rd DLM. We've got different elements of 76th Motorized Artillery Regiment. Yes, we've got 11th Dragoons, Motorized Dragoons. There are some more tanks up there. And then the one big part of 2nd DLM that did manage to get into the battle on the second day is a little bit of 13th Dragoons. This is actually a part of 2nd DLM. Actually did try to counterattack north into the German southern flank. As you can see by this dotted line, it didn't go very well. So that's the kind of thing we're going to be looking at today. Meanwhile, I'll catch up with Mr. Chat. Oh, wow, we got a lot of stuff here. Something to watch while building French World War I. Okay, what games? Rasmus says Wardrobe, Blood, and Valor. Yeah, I play tested that with the designers at Historicon 2019, back before the unknown virus of mysterious origin. That was a lot of fun. It has a really inventive, I find, a very inventive initiative system. It's probably one of the best things I like about that game specifically. That's what I was guessing. Rasmus says Wardrobe Guy. Do you have a channel? Are those from Great Escape games? Once the balloon goes up, it gets very complicated. Okay, we're talking about something else here. So Jen says, yeah, plan. You told me that no plan survives first contact with the enemy. It depends on how well the plan is reversed. Rehearsed, not reversed. And that's where you get into Josephus' famous line from first century Romans. He's talking about the Roman army in the first century, and the famous line is, their maneuvers are like bloodless battles, and their battles are like bloodless maneuvers. If you train enough, and you train enough, and you train enough, war becomes not an exercise of terror and horror and hatred and chaos. It becomes work. It becomes a process where large numbers of people are turned into hamburger, and if you practice hard enough and you train hard enough, it's the other guy getting turned into hamburger, more than your guys. In a more modern way, the line that I've heard many, many times back in the day was, the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. The deal plan was not rehearsed. It was thought out on paper. It was a bunch of generals looking at a map and looking at roads, and then some politicians got together. They looked at it without knowing anything because they're not military men, and they said, yeah, it looks good, and they signed off on it. It was never enacted. It was never practiced. It was never rehearsed. This is why in the 70s and 80s, you had Reforger over and over and over again. That's the NATO return forces to Germany. Over and over and over again. We have fought World War III more times so that if the Russians ever did come into West Germany, we would at least hopefully be ready for them. But who knows how that would have worked out. But anyway, these are the specific forces that we're going to see in today's game. Again, 11th Motorized Dragoons, 76th Motorized Artillery Regiment, 2nd Cuirassier. That is all the main body out of 3rd Division Légère Mécanique, if I'm saying that right. And then we have that one little handful out of 2nd DLM coming out of the south. That's 13th Dragoons Tank Regiment. Cool. So Wardrobe asks, do you have a channel? Are those the Great Escape games? I think it's from Firelock Games is the name of the company, the Blood and Valor, if we're talking about that still. I don't know if Rasmus has a channel, but we're all on Discord. In the description of this video on YouTube, there should be a link to and an invite to our Discord channel. Everyone's welcome to come in there whenever they want. Ben Johnson says Panzerleader 1940, aka Panzerleader with no opportunity fire. No opportunity fire because the ranges are so short. Yeah, it's effectively with no opportunity fire. I mean, you'll see a little bit, but not very much. Hello, Ben. Let's see here. What's going on here? Dun, dun, dun. I was going to ask which version of Panzerleader Panzer Blitz rules we are using. Okay, that's a good question because that's going to be a bit of a discussion. The short answer is Panzerleader 1940, but with some major asterisks in there. Okay, so if you're familiar with Panzerleader 1940, I think Raymond Cruz wrote that for General Magazine. Good God, 1978. I don't even know when that was. That was way back in the day. Obviously, Panzerleader was released in 1974. It was a huge success. It's 1944 and 45 on the Western Front. Somebody said, hey, wouldn't it be fun if we expanded this to include the earlier 1940 campaigns? So Raymond Cruz did that. And he produced 10 scenarios published in the General Magazine, along with new counter sheets and so on. They used the existing maps, and it let you fight some of the battles from the early part of World War II. This exact battle is one of those games. In fact, it's the very first one. It's the Panzerleader Scenario 1, Panzerleader 1940 Scenario 1. However, what we're doing here is two things, actually three things. Number one, we're only trying to do part of the battle. Number two, we're doing the second day of Hannut and Merdorp and not the first day. And number three, we are using a much more accurate map. How accurate? Well, again, we have all this, and these green rectangles show our actual battle area. You'll see that our current map actually captures most of those, or all of those towns, really, and major roads. And then we even have a satellite image of the area. Now, of course, the battlefield looked like this in modern times, didn't look like this in 1940. All these towns are basically shrunk a great deal to about half the size that we see here, just to account for how the battlefield probably looked in 1940. But I go through all that just to show that this isn't just, oh, take board B and C, butt them together, and have fun. For our Panzerleader games here on the Sitrep podcast, every map is drawn for every scenario custom for that specific game, and the idea is to get the most realistic or the most accurate representation possible, given the limitations of the game, because it still has to fit in a hex grid, obviously. It's still just a game. It's still Panzerleader. So, yeah, you guys get it. All right, so what version of Panzer Blitz, Panzerleader are we using? The main DNA of the rules comes from actually Arab-Israeli wars. So most people that still play Panzerleader or Panzer Blitz nowadays are actually playing Arab-Israeli wars. That's when they got the rules finally ironed out to where they actually make sense. The terrain rules in Panzer Blitz are so broken, the game actually had a nickname called Panzer Bush. It was so bad because it was really kind of cheesy. Some of the things that people were doing because the rules were kind of broken. And the artillery system in Panzerleader is tragically broken. I mean, it's horrible in that it encourages the absolute wrong, antithetical kind of behavior to mitigate damage from incoming enemy artillery. Basically, what Panzerleader wants to do is to mash as many units together into a small target as possible. Basically, get everybody that you possibly can stacked 4 hexes deep, nut to butt, and then hope a German 105 doesn't land on you. Well, that's not how it works in real combat. When you're under enemy artillery fire, the best thing to do is to spread out. Arab-Israeli Wars finally fixes this. So we're using Arab-Israeli Wars mostly, with, of course, some terrain rules out of original Panzerleader. We are using the rally rules out of 4th edition Panzerleader, which is sort of unofficial. That is Tactical Command Middle East. And it's got nothing to do with modern warfare. Tactical Command Middle East was originally written for 1991 and 2003 Gulf Wars. It's just that the charts are a lot cleaner. So we're using Tactical Command Middle East, Tactical Command Middle East CRT, Tactical Command Middle East rally tables, because we're using morale rules out of Arab-Israeli Wars. We're using the spotting table out of Tactical Command Middle East. We're using the anti-aircraft table out of Panzerleader, because the aircraft units in Panzerleader don't have a defense value. In order to do aircraft and air Israeli wars and tactical command Middle East, you have to have a defense factor. The anti-aircraft table, the way it's written in Panzer Leader, you don't need an actual defense factor on your aircraft. So I guess long story short, we're taking a mix of all those systems and we're kind of putting it together, with some further complications stacked on top to fix all these problems. And it is basically Oriskany's own, I call it Panzer Blitz Liberation. Basically, I break everything down into platoon levels. I'm tired of these Soviet companies because that's crap. And I'm tired of these French companies because that's crap. In order to have a game that works, all the units have to be at approximately the same echelon level. Otherwise, the game gets wildly imbalanced, and you can't come up with realistic values for your new units. Because, well, this is a unit of 10 tanks with a crappy crew. This is a unit of 5 tanks with a good crew. That's why they're the same. There's way too much Kentucky windage in that math for me to even get near it. Again, it's one of the tragic things I did not like about Panzer Blitz. And Panzer Leader kind of fixed it, and it's been fixed going forward. And we have built our own weapons effectiveness chart, although it's pretty much Arab Israeli Wars. It's Arab Israeli Wars with some tactical command Middle East thrown on top of it. And I know it looks huge and complicated. It is huge and complicated. However, in any given scenario, you're only using about 25% of this, if not less. Because this will run a Panzer Leader model game anywhere from 1939 to 2020. Technically 2025. And we've done it here on this channel. That same chart will allow you to do Poland 1939 scenarios and China invades Taiwan in the hypothetical future of 2025 and everything in between. That's why it's so big. But anyway. How did you create your map? I mean software. That's kind of a simple answer. That's Adobe Photoshop. I draw all my maps in Photoshop. It's a bit of a laborious process. However, as you build more and more maps, you build up more and more assets. And before long, creating a new map for a new Panzer Leader scenario becomes more about assembly than drawing, pixel by pixel. So the hex grid, the buildings, the roads, the elevation, it all kind of gets put in Photoshop and reconfigured for the next map. This way we can come up with a new map relatively quickly. Even the base layer has several layers stacked on top of each other in Photoshop, so I can create an Arctic board, a desert board, a forest board, lickety split, super fast. I can build a nice table like this in Panzer Leader in about an hour, and it'll be completely unique. And it's pretty big too. I mean, it zooms in to quite a level of detail. Okay, so with all that out of the way, finally, oh my god, stream's already been going on for half an hour. Boom, we are now set up. So the French are on defense, and the French are set up. And following that, again, this is their approximate historical positions per major maneuver unit. Again, I didn't get down into individual companies, even though I've got that information available. But again, there's 1st Battalion, 11th Dragoons, along with the Regimental Headquarter and the 1016th Anti-Aircraft Company, all part of 2nd DLM. Here again, we have the bulk of 2nd Cuirassier. That is going to be mostly Salma 35s, probably the best single tank of the 1940 campaign, with the huge asterisk caveat, well, maybe, sort of exception of that terrible turret. Most French tanks had one-man turrets. I think the Selma 35 may have had a two-man turret. Someone can check me on that, please. Either way, you need at least 3 men in your turret. I think the Selma 35, it could have had a one-man turret, could have a two-man turret. But it's terrible. Because now you have a guy who's got to be a commander and a loader and a gunner, and God save you if this poor bastard is a squadron or company commander. Because now he's got a 4th job, and it's terrible. Ooh, that's supposed to be unloaded. Sorry about that. Unlimbered, damn you. Yeah, so they've got Hotchkiss H-35s, light tanks, and Selma 35 medium tanks. That's what they had historically. Anti-tank battalion that was attached to them. We've got one battery, or actually one battalion of 76th Regiment, artillery regiment, with their World War I era artillery howitzers back here. Yeah. Oh no, not quite World War I, 1928. So yeah, we've got pretty much a French force. This is about where they were at the time. Again, we're talking about dawn of the second day. Again, I'm going by all these markings here. One little bit of good news for the French is the bridges are still up across this river in the south, and 13th Dragoons has been detached from 2nd DLM, and they are coming up north to hopefully hit the Germans in the flank. So there's not a lot of them, but again, the more Sama 35s you have on the table, the better. Probably the best all-around tank you'll see in this campaign. Again, except for that one-man turret thing. Of course, they're on defense, so they had to set up first. Meanwhile, the Germans set up second because they're on attack. They're allowed to set up, and this isn't really an official scenario, so I don't really care how close they set up. I just made sure that they were not set up within line of sight of any French unit. So right now, nobody can see each other, otherwise the battle would already be underway, would already be in progress. So the Germans are getting ready to attack. The previous night, the French had pulled out of Hannut, so now the Germans have occupied Hannut, in this case with 2nd Battalion, 33rd Schützen Regiment of 4th Panzer Division. This is all 4th Panzer Division. Not all of 4th Panzer Division, but everything on here is part of 4th Panzer Division. I've got one battalion, namely the 2nd of 103rd Artillery Regiment, with 3 batteries of 10.5 centimeters. Oops, this is not right. Whoop, there we go. The bulk of 35th Panzer Regiment, again, that's going to be half of 5th Panzer Brigade. And down here we have the rest of it. 36th Panzer Regiment, again, the other half of 5th Panzer Brigade. And yes, both Panzer Regiments were there. 35th to the north, 36th to the south, along with 7th Recon. Where is 7th Recon, you ask? Here they are down here. 7th Panzer Aufklärungsabteilung, or Armored Reconnaissance Detachment / Battalion. Alright, so with all that out of the way, there are no more questions. We are going to go ahead and just play through a couple of the turns here, just to demo. Again, I'm just going to be pushing the pieces around myself to sort of commemorate the 80th anniversary. Although technically this battle takes place on the 13th. But I will definitely not be streaming on the 13th. So here we go. Turn 1. It's the German turn. So we have our general turn sequence. Plot artillery. Okay, normally, of course, you write down your artillery in secret so your opponent does not see it. The problem is the Germans can't see anything right now. Can the Germans see any hexes at all? So I may want to call in some smoke. So again, I know normally you would be calling this in on a sheet of paper somewhere. Let me get my line of sight tool out here. Can these guys, how far can they see around that? Ooh. They cannot see that hex legally. Three fire missions. Again, normally this would be done in secret, but it's a solitaire game. What am I going to do? Write down some numbers on a sheet of paper and not show it to myself? Those are all smoke missions being called in by my 3 artillery batteries. Only because they can't see anything at the moment. Alright, so I've now plotted artillery. Next, resolve artillery from the previous turn. Okay, there isn't any. Call in airstrikes. The Germans do have an assload of airstrikes. I'm talking about Ju-87B Stukas. I'm not calling them in yet, though, because I can't see anything. It would be kind of a waste. Alright, so then we go to direct fire. Again, I have no targets because nothing's in line of sight yet. So time to go to movement. Alright, let's go straight to movement. I have some plans for movement. By the way, thank you for live streaming. No worries. Wardrobe, thanks for coming out. Okay, so I'm going to use up some of my raggedy-ass, terrible Panzerkampfwagen Mark 1s, because they suck. It's time for them to do something important. 1, 2, 3, double road movement rate. 4, 5, 6. This 45 millimeter saw all that shit. He's going to take his shot right here at 2 hexes away. This guy never saw it because, well, he could have taken a shot at me there. He's got a range of 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You know what? I'm not going to. Okay, he's going to take a half shot because he's at extreme range. So that 6 divides into 3. 3 versus 4. That is 1 to 2 odds. Opportunity fire. First shot down range. That is a 1 on the 1 to 2 table. 1 platoon or 1 Zug, if you prefer, of Mark 3s. Oh, sorry, Mark 3s, I wish. Of Mark 1s is dispersed. The rest of them continues. Boom. He now takes a full shot. 6 versus 4. 1 to 1. I could use another 1 right now. Come on, Frenchie. Another 1! Boom. First kill. That didn't take long. German tanks are burning. If you guys read about this battle historically, the Germans, of course, did win because Germans 1940. Hello, how are they not going to win? But they got their teeth kicked in here. I'm not even going to lie. They took some heavy losses, especially tank losses in this battle. Okay, so we got 1 German burn counter or 1 German wreck counter already on the map. Boom. Okay, and then this last guy goes here. But that's okay. They have accomplished their mission. Their mission being, ding dong, I see you. Okay, they have now been spotted. All right, cool. So now, to complete my movement, here come the Germans. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so what I'm doing here, guys, clearly I'm setting up these guys for some direct fire missions. My Mark 4s with their short-barreled 75mm guns are going to have a range of 8. They are within 4 hexes of both of these batteries, which means that 5 is going to double to 10. So I've got 2 10s, basically, that are going to fire into these hexes. They do not get to use split move and fire for 2 reasons. They're not turreted AFVs, and they're French. French in 1940 do not get to use split move and fire no matter what kind of unit it is. So those guys are basically stuck there. I now see them because they fired at me, and so yeah. Next turn we're going to take our direct fire phase. We're going to knock out at least one of those 2 batteries. In fact, where are the rest of my Mark 1s? Mark 1s. 1, 2. Now I'm on the road. 3, 4, 5, 6. They can get brave now. I can't overrun them because they're in woods, clearly. And I am being a little bold with them because they're Mark 1s. And by definition, terrible. 1, 2, 3, 4 double, 5, 6. Now, what's going to happen, or what could potentially happen, is these clowns, these H-35s, could overrun these tanks. And with only I-class weapons, remember, the Mark 1 only has 2 MGs, let me say that. Technically, I think they're MG F-15s or something like that. They're basically MG-34s. But for some reason, when it goes in a tank, it has a different variation. Clearly, it doesn't have a bipod or whatever. I think it's called MG-15s or FF-15s. I can't remember. But it's basically an MG-34, just the version that gets bolted into a tank. So I have to make sure that these guys have some cover. Because, I mean, they are only Mark 1s, but they're also German crews in there. I don't want to just completely piss them away. So it's time to get serious with my Mark 3s, is what I mean by that. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. There. Now, if he wants to overrun me, be my guest. Number 1, he can't reach me because he only has a range of 2. If he wants to overrun me, he's walking right into point-blank opportunity fire from my 3.7mm KWKs. So, bring it. One of the main reasons I love early war, and I'll always, stick by early war, I love early war to death, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Man, these Mark IIs are fast. 9. 9's good. What do Panzers do? They cut around behind the enemy and cut them off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There you go. Retreat now. I dare you. Okay. So, yeah, that's how you do that. One of the things, the reason I love early war is the ranges are so short. If you try this in a 1944 campaign, when this guy is a Firefly, this guy is an Easy 8, this guy is, who knows what, a 17-pounder towed gun. Maybe these guys are 17-pounders. This guy's a King Tiger, this guy's a Tiger, this guy's a Panther. Everything has a range of 12, 16, 20. There's a German 88 on the table. Dude, you do not do this kind of cavalry hell for leather shit. You're going to see a lot more than one wreck counter. I'll put it to you that way. But in this way, because the ranges are so short, the maneuver just completely opens up. Once this guy takes his opportunity fire, which he has, any other German tank can la-di-da, I bet you wish you could do something, Mr. Hotchkiss. Too bad you can only move 2 hexes. And in their defense, the French can do the same thing. So flank security becomes a big problem. You got to be careful, because if I open up too many, you see where 36th Regiment has sort of gravitated down here to the south. If I do that too much, in fact, you know what? Let me, no, they're good where they are. Let me do this. If I do that too much, I'm going to open up my center. And if I open up my center, these Frenchies might rush right through and overrun my artillery park back here, or something. Or they can't overrun because they're in buildings, but they might take them under fire. So I got to be careful there. So super fast, again, because we're only going to play a couple turns here. Let's go ahead and do some recon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11. Ooh, they don't go that fast. We'll get on the road. So getting on roads, per Arab Israeli war rules, you can only move 2 counters at a time on road and get the road bonus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half, 6. Then he'll do the same thing. My motorcycles. This guy moves at 16. He's fast as hell. My 231/8s. Now, I don't want to get too crazy with them. I'm just trying to do a little bit of area denial here for these guys coming across this bridge. At least I'll see them. I can call in some artillery. I can call in an airstrike. Who knows what. Okay, this Pioneer was going to assault this stuff, but now that that's not going to happen, he's going to go ahead and remount. That took half of his movement, and now the truck has 6 movement points left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He'll hide in those woods. My mortar realizes he's quickly being outpaced by the battle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He'll also go in there. Now, one of the things that I'm doing here, guys, people who may be familiar with our channel know that we play with 150 meter hexes, rather than the standard Panzer Blitz, Panzer Leader, Arab Israeli Wars 250 meter hexes. This corrects the egregious movement rates and the absolute insane ranges they give you for World War II weapons. You know what you do? You make the hexes a little bit smaller, and everything gets fixed. You do have to make a couple small changes. The stacking limit is down to 3 instead of 4. However, these 2 units are loaded, so I really only have 2 trucks in there for stacking purposes. And all the infantry units, you'll notice, have a movement of 2. Because walking is faster now, because the hexes are only 150 meters. This is my infantry gun, right? Yep. He's already loaded. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops. I think I cheated there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He'll stay there for now. Actually, is that open? Well, it's also overloaded. It's also overstacked, so I'm just going to go ahead and put him here instead. He spent more than half of his movement, so he cannot unload. Nevertheless, my recon guys are doing a little bit of defensive reconnaissance. They're going to make the enemy go past them as they advance. Up here to the north, it's pretty much going to be an infantry charge. 1, 2. Actually, let me do this. 1, 2. Got to get some engineers in there. 1, 2. In a road. 1, 2. 1, 2. Mortar is good to go. What is that? My anti-tank gun. I don't think I'm going to get outflanked, but just in case. 1. Actually, that's 1. And then he's going to unload. Okay, as he's unloading, because he loses less than half of his movement and the gun is less than 75 millimeters, that truck just spent half of his movement points in clear view of all these French units who can see up the hill, that little elevation line, and engage. They can't destroy the anti-tank gun, but they can destroy the truck. Is it worth it to give away their position? Survey says no. Survey says no. In fact, I realize now I kind of screwed up on the German side. I should have put these guys in there first. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it. No, I'm not. There's an anti-tank gun in there. Actually, yes, I am. Because why not? The Germans are going to get aggressive. The Germans are on the clock here. They ain't got time to be messing around. So this SDKFZ-8 moves half a movement point. He moves 1 hex, but he's in the city, so it's all road movement rate. He was already loaded. He wants now to unload. He spent literally 1/20th of his movement, half a point out of 10. So he now unloads. As he does so, he attracts opportunity fire from anti-tank gun and Hotchkiss. So that's going to be a grand total of 9 points. They're both at extreme range. For 2 points, I don't really charge extreme range because the range is only 2. I mean, if you strictly go by the rules, 1 hex is point blank range, 2 hexes is extreme range. There is no medium range. That 5 and 4 become meaningless. So basically, at 1 hex, that doubles to 10, that doubles to 8. At 2 hexes, it's normal. The range on these poor things is short enough as it is. Long story short, that's 9 points versus 1. That's 9-to-1 odds. Add 1 to the die roll for my light buildings. Yeah, he's smoked. He's destroyed. That's the second German wreck counter on the table. It was worth it, I believe. Trust me. I'll explain why in just a second. Technically, that SDKFZ-8 is a that Hanomag. No, that's not a Hanomag. That's a FAMO. What was the nickname for it? Okay. However, that still counts as a point for stacking purposes. The wreck counter does. That's the point of wreck counters. So now that hex is overstacked. The Germans have to choose 1 unit to be destroyed. They choose the empty truck. That's what happens when you rush and you're trying to get a lot of firepower into an overcrowded hex too quickly under heavy enemy fire. No worries at all, because now I have both direct fire. I have both high explosive firepower and anti-tank firepower on high ground in buildings. He can't see them. They're not spotted. So if these guys down here decide to get cute, go ahead, dude. I got some stuff waiting for you. I'm going to get 1 truck back there just to back them up in case they decide to pull out later, although they won't be able to do that anyway, so leave it alone. And that pretty much wraps up that movement phase. Okay, these 2 units are destroyed. Did I put that Mark 1 someplace, or did I just delete it? There it is. Yeah, sometimes the scenario just requires you to keep track of destroyed units, although that truck would not count. Trucks never count as destroyed units for victory points. Trucks do. I'm sorry, half-tracks do. Mark 1s do. Empty trucks do not. One last piece of movement for the Germans. They're kind of blocked by that city. So how crazy do I want to get here? 35th Panzer Regiment, unfortunately, at the moment has 2 missions. They have to sort of defend this hill in case 2nd Cuirassier decides to get inventive. And I wanted to sort of put pressure on this wing. I'm keeping both my Panzer Regiments condensed, like you're supposed to do. Focus your armor into a Schwerpunkt and sort of smash one wing off of the enemy here. Okay, where was it? Ready? Or these 3? 1, 2, can't see me, can't see me. 3, 4, you can see me. You can see me. You can see me, and I stop. So when he moves into that hex, all these guys can shoot. They're going to go for it. Everybody within 2 hexes. I know I'm going to give away my position here, but the Germans are getting really aggressive. The French have to inflict some casualties. I got a grand total of 5 5s. That's 25 points. I'm going to take a 5-to-1 odds against 1 German tank platoon. I have to add 1 to my die roll because of woods. Now, remember, if you guys go by the actual Panzer Leader rules, can't see me, can't see me, can't see me because of this tree line here. Can see me, that's 1, 2. Why doesn't he take it there when he's doubled? Because I've only moved 2 points in his line of sight, and 2 is not a quarter of 10. You have to move a quarter of your movement in enemy continuous line of sight, line of fire. Or no, not even line of fire, just line of sight. You have to move at least a quarter of your movement points, not hexes, movement points. Often that's the difference. In continuous enemy line of sight to trigger opportunity fire. So he doesn't trigger until he moves here for 3. And 3 is obviously more than a quarter of 10. So now they can all fire. The problem is that now the range has reopened back to 3 hexes. And he's in the woods. So I'm still probably going to lose a German tank here, but let's see what happens. All right, get Mr. Webcan out. What I'm looking for here is a 4 down. Because a 5 or less kills on 5-to-1, but I have to add 1 to my die roll for those woods. So I need a natural 1 through a 4. And that's a 2. That's more German tanks wrecked. Germans are getting beat up already. The Germans are also being a little reckless. Because stream. Send it back. A super tactical, careful, chess game, kind of a Panzer Leader game, is fun to play. It's boring as shit to watch. So when I'm running Panzer Leader, especially a demo game, I demo the shit out of it. All these guys have now taken opportunity fire, which means everybody else now gets to bum rush them. 1, 2 for going up a hill. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Bring your noise. Those machine guns ain't going to do shit against those tanks. But what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to get a lot of spotting. These guys are not getting away. Ungroup them, please. Spread them out a little bit so they don't get completely massacred. I would move these guys forward, but I already moved them. That would be cheesy. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are the tanks I'm really interested in. Actually, I'm going to do more than that. I'm going to move them here. So they double to 12. Bring to front. Mark 3 is a point-blank range. And nobody else can help, and they can't retreat because they don't have split move and fire rule. Before I forget, let me put an opportunity fire counter on these bad boys, so I don't forget that they've already fired. And by flanking down this way, the rest of this French battle line here remains out of range. I don't want to send everything down there because this is some very powerful French armor here to the north, and I got to make sure that, again, I defend this high ground. Because if these guys push too far up, they might flank my little position up here and, again, get back to my artillery. In a more formal game, we would be talking about all kinds of stuff. Objective hexes and so on and so forth. So he's taking his opportunity fire. Okay, these 2 guys. You can't travel through a hex spine, so he does unfortunately have to back up a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. Aren't you glad you already took opportunity fire? Point blank howitzers are going to fire right into that city next turn. That's going to be sweet. Let's get some machine guns in there to help them. One, or technically half, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5. Actually, I can't do that. I'll put them up there instead. Because these are smoke rounds. You're not allowed to fire smoke rounds on your own troops. Your troops, you can drop an artillery barrage, a smoke barrage, and then advance into the smoke, but you can't actually have live ordnance land on your own guys, even if it's a smoke shell. Because smoke shells still kill when they land on you. Okay, and then set up just a little bit presumptive, or I should say precautionary defense here. And then I will check the chat. Come on. I keep grabbing the map by mistake. Just in case someone decides to get cute. Okay, and that's German movement. Nothing is, actually we do have one unit pinned down, but he was pinned down during opportunity fire, so nothing there. There are no counterattacks, there are no overruns. That concludes turn 1 for the Germans. Cool. Jen says you could have me call them in. What are we talking about? We're talking about artillery or airstrikes? Rasmus, I do go for early war 2. A lot more movement, absolutely. 14 built and 21 to go. Oh, he's building his French forces. Awesome. That's true. We're playing with French now, and so far the French are doing pretty well. They've destroyed 10 German tanks and 5 heavy FAMO half-tracks by big German prime movers. Okay, on to the French turn. The French say, am I going to call in any artillery? The French say, hell yeah, I'm calling in some artillery. Just I don't know where yet. Oh, clearly the Germans are advancing on this town. Thimes, or Thies, I don't even know how to pronounce that. This town here, Thistle, I'll call it, although of course that's not right. Clearly the Germans are advancing towards there. They're going to advance 1 and 2. So we're going to start dropping in some artillery in these hexes here, because clearly he's coming. These are these 2 batteries of 75 millimeters, assuming they're not too far away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nope, they're good to go. So, La French. Ooh, I don't really have French artillery counters. I only have British. So, excuse the color. That should be more of a blue. Just curious. Let me see if I can change that. Format picture. I doubt it. Let me just give it a quick look here. I can make them semi-Frenchy. There we go. That's not great, but that probably looks a little better. Nah, it doesn't matter. I'm getting all obsessive here. There we go. Now they look like actual French artillery missions. Okay. Cool. So that's what the French are calling in their artillery at. Again, in a real game, this is written down in secret. The enemy doesn't know where it's coming, but again, we're just doing a quick demo. A couple turns here. Rasmus says, I have to be careful not to put 1940s weapons on them. You'd be surprised how many 1940s, I should say how many 1918 weapons were still being used in 1940. You wouldn't be that far off, to be perfectly honest. Okay, so that is that. There's no artillery to resolve. The French have no airstrikes. Direct fire. There is no direct fire. Ooh, yeah, I could be wrong there. There is okay, he already fired them, so nothing there, nothing there. Ooh, there's a Hotchkiss tank in there I didn't know about. Can't see him because of that hex side. Can't see, and out, or can see, but he's out of range. Okay, no big deal. All right, let me look around, see what else is available. Oh yeah, we definitely have some fire missions here. Okay, ready? I have 5 points there with, that's a 25 millimeter automatic cannon. 5 points there within half range, so it doubles. I don't think that's true. AA weapons are not H weapons in my adjusted Panzer Leader. It is normal. Okay, it's just 5 points. 5 points. Out of range, out of range, out of range, out of range, out of range. Okay, you know what? It's only 5 points. I'm not going to give it my position yet. I'm going to wait for these fools to advance into my artillery hexes, then fire. Whatever I don't kill, I might pin down, and then when I pin them down, then they're going to be helpless when my artillery mission comes in to land on them. So these guys are holding fast for now. The way you win at Panzer Leader, the way you do not rely on the dice to be generous to you, is combined arms. You can attack units several times in a turn. You can only direct fire them once, but you can airstrike them, you can artillery them with indirect fire, you can use direct fire, you can cat attack, and you can overrun. All that can happen in the same turn. And once you disperse a unit, a double D will kill. And you get to subtract 1 on your roll for attacking a dispersed unit. That's how people die in Panzer Leader. By fixing it in a certain way, and sometimes you have to plan a turn in advance, so that next, like right now, I'm not going to attack. I'm not going to attack. Don't just reflexively, oh, if you have a shot, take it. No. Panzer Leader will break you of that habit very quickly. If he fires now, he might pin down somebody at 1 to 2 odds if he's super lucky. He's not going to kill anybody, and now he's giving away his position. German artillery, coming right up. Thank you for giving us your position. Meanwhile, now when the enemy comes at you, you're already pinned down by German artillery, and it goes to hell in a handbasket there. Rather, hold your fire until you can hit that hex. We're assuming the Germans are going to wind up in 1602 there. Once the Germans move into 1602, which obviously it's a solitaire game, I know he's going there. But even in a live game, you'd be able to tell. I mean, you have to pay attention. Clearly, the German player here is setting up a massive infantry assault on this town. They're literally marching in almost Napoleonic order here across a grassy Belgian field. They're basically reenacting Waterloo, for crying out loud. And once they do, there's going to be hell to pay. 1602 is going to get clobbered first by French artillery, but not till next turn. And when it does, fire, cat attack, overrun. You can attack 1602 4 separate times next turn if you're smart about it and you do it right. And all you need is 2 dispersals. It's a lot easier to get 2 dispersals than 1 kill. Alright, so that's going to be it for direct fire. We now go to movement. The French do not have split move and fire rules, so none of this stuff is moving. None of this stuff is moving. All this other stuff, however, can move. Let's get serious. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do the Germans fire? Yes. Double 2s. Make a grand total of 4 against 6. 1 to 2 odds. They call it speed Panzer Leader, guys. 1 to 2 odds. 6 is squadouche. Nothing. So they fired and missed everything. Move in. Okay, guys, ring the dinner bell. He took his opportunity fire and missed. Everybody go in. He cannot take opportunity fire. He'd be shooting through that green hex side. He technically can take opportunity fire, but it's I-class weapons. Ping, ping, ping. Off of the armor of the Sama 35 with his MG-34. We are going to blow the hell out of some Germans next turn. German decision. Do I take this opportunity fire? Survey says Yes, the whole point of them being there was to break up this overrun, or else these poor Mark 1s get overrun. You know what? The hell with them. I'd rather kill a Hotchkiss than give up my chance to kill some. I'd rather kill some Hotchkiss next turn than save a Mark 1. So these guys bail out of the tank as the Hotchkiss 39s overrun them. That is 15 total points versus 4. That is 3-1, becomes 4-1. Subtract 2 from the die roll. There is no winning against that. Even if you roll a 6, it gets reduced to a 4, which is a kill on the 4-1 table. Again, speed Panzer leader here, guys. Overrun, overrun. Another platoon of Mark 1s bites the dust. But that's okay, because what I'm doing is I'm saving my fire. These guys are so smoked next turn. At least that's the plan. Alrighty. I don't want to completely open up this door here. So notice the French are playing kind of the way the French didn't fight. You know, concentrating their armor, pushing forward all at once in a concentrated attack. Clearly, is that the way it really happened? No, but again, when you're playing as in a war game, you get to be the commander. So I want to hold this junction, but I don't want to do it with my best attacking units, my best offensive units. Clearly, the main tank battle is shaping up down here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He'll stay there under cover. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm sort of covering this little bocage here, a couple hundred meters of farmland between those corners of trees. I'm trying to pen in these guys a little bit, and that way the southern wing of 2nd Cuirassier, 5th Brigade Légère Mécanique can sort of marry up with 13th Dragoons, 2nd DLM coming up from the south. Coming across the bridge, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, did spend a quarter of my movement in your line of sight. Some opportunity fire is coming. 3 points from the infantry gun. It's within 2 hexes, so it gets to keep the 3, even though it's an H-class weapon. Same here, same here, same here. So I have a grand total of 2, 2, 2, and 3 equals 9. Actually, I'm going to take these 3 2s against 1 at 1-1, and I'm going to take that 3 at 1-2. I do have to add 1 to the die roll, though. Or do I? No, I don't. I'll take it while it's back here. So 1-2, because he was moving this way. 1-2, he shoots right down this gap in the bocage and tries to take out one of those Sama 35 half companies. Oh boy. He needs, well, he can't kill him. He needs a nice low number to pin him down. Get that 6 out of there. Go for it. A 2, he hasn't pinned. The French are already getting pinned. And their morale is pretty bad. Okay, this is going to be a 1-1. That's 3 2s. Except they're not, oh, I screwed up. They're not within 2 at this range. So they now only count as 1. So it's 3 1s equals 3 versus 6. Again, it's going to be another 1-2. Oops, wrong button. Another 1-2. A 1, that would have been a kill if it was a 1-1. Okay, but you know what? In Panzer Leader, a dispersal is almost as good as a kill in some situations. Especially when the enemy does not have the best... especially when you shoot him down while he's moving. Because it's basically a turn and a half that you're pinned down. And especially when the enemy has bad morale. And of course, you're playing with the morale rules. Okay, so 13th Dragoons just got... he'll pretty much follow the same course and come down, except there's no one left to take opportunity fire. Technically, he can, but I don't want to because I'm afraid these guys are going to come up. Also, he'd be shooting at him while he's in woods. These guys are a lot slower, only at 6. 1. Still can't see me. Trying to pin him against that tree line there. So this guy was vulnerable to opportunity fire. 4 against 4. That's 1-to-1 odds. The way the Germans have been rolling, they just might pull it off. A 6. Of course, when it would have mattered, they get a 6. And come on, camera, get in focus there. There we go. Okay, so opportunity fire. All that, and these two. Okay, I think that concludes French movement. None of this stuff really wants to move very much. Oh, actually, yes it does. Except it really can't. Damn it. Because he fired, no split move and fire. He fired, and he's dismounted. He hasn't fired. I wanted to do at least one kind of 1, 2. Okay, now he's going to take opportunity fire. Actually, oh my god, that was a terrible move. Okay, these 3 are going to take opportunity fire. 2, 2, and 2. The MG34s in those 3 platoons of Mark 1s. That's a grand total of 6 points against 6 points on defensive rifle. Rifle's defense. 4, he is pinned. Because I'm trying to set up a cat attack, but now it's not legal. 2 points and a cat attack, a prospective cat attack. 2 points versus 12 is 1-to-6 odds. Any attack at less than 1-to-4 is no longer legal. You call your lieutenant, or in this case, your lieutenant, your platoon leader, and you say fix bayonets and destroy those 15 German tanks out there. And the lieutenant says, repeat, please. Sir, you're crazy. I'm not doing it. Court-martial me if you want. But you're out of your mind. I'm not going to do it. Empty truck. Get the hell out of there so I can move in more infantry. Move that mortar up here so I can start taking direct fire missions on Germans coming up. Okay, cool. That's going to wrap up movement for turn 2. I'm sorry, for French turn 1. That concludes turn 1. Hello! Oh, we got a bunch of new people in the chat there. Double D's, that kills, or at least they die happy, right, Rasmus? My favorite result on the CRT, coincidentally, my favorite bra size. Is there a connection? Draw your own conclusions. Double D's. Double D's or less need not apply, gentlemen or ladies. Okay, so Erasmus says, yes, but the modern SMG is still a little bit out of period for me. I'm not sure what SMG-ish the French might have had, but a lot of the older crap they still had, especially their heavier weapons. They still had FT-17s running around in this campaign, believe it or not. They still had some of those god-awful Shao shots, some of the old rifles. Definitely their towed artillery was very antiquated. Jennifer Lemon says, does anyone have bicycles? No. We have some motorcycles, but no bicycles. This is a mechanized division. This is about as mechanized as the French get in 1940, are these 2 divisions. They are the cream of the crop. You definitely have bicycle courier troops, bicycle recon platoons, stuff like that in the infantry divisions. Yes, certainly. John Pierman says, just popped in, looking good so far. Yeah, we're almost done. Again, we're not here to stream all night. We literally just finished turn 1. This is kind of a big game. It's on 2.5 Panzer leader tables. To do this whole game, like to the full extent, would take quite a while. We're just running a couple, probably 2 turns, just to kind of get a taste of it. And especially to sort of showcase early war Panzer leader, which I find a lot more fun most of the time than late war. I like either early war Panzer leader or like 2020 Panzer leader, 1991 Panzer leader, like modern Panzer leader. Basically any kind of Panzer leader where you can get good movement. Move. I love a lot of movement. Because everything in Panzer leader 1980 forward is so friggin' fast. Alrighty. Hey John, welcome to the stream. Might take Jim a little while to say hi. Yeah, he's in the Panzer Leader zone. Yeah, when I start going to like speed Panzer Leader, I start going through turns, especially in a big game like this, super fast. Yeah, John says I see that. Cool. That is what you think the order said. I say it was garbled in transmission. Okay, John. John's quoting Patton now. Alrighty, cool. So the box claimed it to be good for 1916 to 1940, so a few late war toys in there. We're talking about Blood and Valor. That'd be cool. Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, I'm not sure for all the armies, but for the French, there's a lot of, or maybe not a lot, a fair amount of crossover between the weapons available in especially 1918 and 1940. Because the French army kind of stalled for the interwar period. They didn't really rearm the way the Germans did. Okay, so we're going to start turn 2, and then we're pretty much going to wrap up the stream at the end of turn 2. So what the Germans would do here, they have to plot artillery first. They know where their current artillery is landing. And these guys are now spotted. So guess what? We are calling in all 3 fire missions for next turn. Right there. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to go ahead and do our splash, and it's basically like we said, smoke shell concentrations here, here. I realized I kind of blinded myself a little bit there, and there. Okay, so that is 1. Oh, stop it. 1, 2, and 3. Shuffle some counters here. Bring to front. Just super fast. Yeah, 1, 2, and 3. They're all landing there. Because those guys are spotted. They've shot at us now. Soft targets in a building or in an urban hex. Yeah, we're calling in the big 105s. 3 batteries. The full battalion. 2nd Battalion, 103rd Panzer Artillery Regiment. Or really motorized artillery regiment, I should say. Yeah, those guys are in big trouble. Plus, they're going to get clobbered with this stuff now. Those guys have fired, but these guys haven't, and these guys haven't. So, yeah, it's going to get nasty from here. All right, opportunity fire's gone. Opportunity fire's gone. Opportunity fire's gone. Opportunity fire's gone. Just move all this stuff off to the side real fast. All right, so artillery is sorted out. We're now going to do German direct fire. Oh boy, here we go. German direct fire. Here comes 5. Did I say 5? Did I say 5? I meant 10, because I'm within 4 hexes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's half the range of 8. Therefore, it doubles against soft targets, high explosive weapons. That is a 10. Plus another 10. 20 points. I'm not going to put both Mark IV platoons onto one target. I'm going to split it up. So I'm going to put in this 10 here, plus 2, plus 2, plus 2, plus 2, equals a total of 18. Give me a second. Thinking. Actually, 1, because it's an A-class weapon versus soft targets, it only counts as half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 21. 21 against 4 is exactly 7 to 1. 7 to 1 is an automatic kill on the whole stack. Because at 7 to 1, a 7 kills. I have to add 1 to my die roll because of trees. But again, even if I roll a 6, just for fun and to make the stream interesting. Because who doesn't like seeing dice roll? That 3 is right as a 4. That is 2 smoked units. Kaboom. Okay, that was a lot of firepower from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 platoons. 40 German tanks just fired into that anti-tank battery and smoked the whole pile right there. And the trucks as well. So that happened. And that is 2 soft kills, i.e. non-armored, i.e. creates no rec counters in that hex. So these are rec counters. They obviously have a game effect. They count for stacking purposes. These have nothing to do with anything. I put them in there just because I'm ghoulish and I like seeing carnage on the battlefield. When you get done with a full game and you kind of zoom the map out and you see where all the smoke columns are, you're like, holy crap, that was a battle. Now, hard kills, i.e. armored kills, create a rec counter, and that's a tactically significant feature. You have to put that on there per game rules. But everything else, not so much. Okay, meanwhile, this other Mark IV is going to lead the fire fusillade against this other group. 1, 2, oh, that's 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's going to be all. I want to save these guys and these guys for something else. Although they have no target, so I might as well shoot them out. Okay. 1, 2, oh my god, I moved too, oh, I didn't do the right thing with those Mark IVs, are in the wrong place. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and shoot everything. That's 10, 3, 3, that's 16, 3, that's 19, 22, we're at 7 to 1. These guys, they're done. Actually, do I want to do that? Nobody's in the open to counter. Let me not be stupid. I'm going to go to 4 to 1. 4 to 1 only. 1, 2, no, 1, that's 10. And these 3 makes 16. That's 4 up, or 4 down to kill. Damn it. Germans aren't quite as powerful as I thought. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put these guys in here to get me to 1, 2, 3, that's 19. And 3, there's 1, 3 here. That gets it to 22. Okay, now they're smoked. I don't want to pick up dice. I want to destroy the enemy without picking up dice. Dice are filthy. I like to keep my hands clean and destroy the enemy from a distance. So now these 3 units, 1, 2, 3, have not fired. Nobody's in range, so they're not firing now. We'll go ahead and wrap up this little part of the German force with a quick rally. Rally is part of the attack phase. It's what you do instead of attack if you're pinned down. Germans have morale of A. This is one of the premier Panzer divisions, so they rally on a 5 or less on a D6. He does rally. That's considered his fire phase. So if he wants to use split move and fire, he can only move half his movement. These guys have fired already. These guys have fired already. Moving swiftly forward. Okay, now we're going to start blowing some people up here. 1, 2, 3 6s, all double to 12. That's a total of 36 points. Plus these 2 6s do not double because they're at extreme range. There are 2 hexes, and that's the extreme range. So I got a grand total of 48 versus 15 is 3 to 1. That's not good enough. I need to get to 60. The problem is I don't think I can. Okay, so I'm going to have to get a little more judicious with what I decide to shoot at here. 12 plus 12 plus 12 is 36. Plus another 12 is 48. Against 10, I'm going to throw, can't too far away. I'm going to throw in these 2. Oh my god, those guys are so dead. To get to 50. Alright, so these 2, or I should say this 2 attack. 2, 6, 6, 12, 12, 12. Comes out to 50. I'm going to engage one of these guys, 2 of those guys at 5 to 1 odds, add 1 to the die roll for woods. Damn it. 4 barely does it. 4 becomes a 5. That is 2 French tank platoons smoked. Yay, I get to put some French rec counters on the table for a change. Where were they? They were right here. Boom and boom. All right. Only one of these platoons has not yet fired. That's this guy under here. He is facing off against 25 Sama 35s. And he's outflanked by the... Yeah, he may be doomed. Fortunately, he can probably use split movement fire to get the hell out of there. Okay, so right now he's got 4 versus 6. That's 1 to 2 odds. He's at 4 because he's at point blank range. That 2 doubles to 4. So, yeah, 1 to 2 odds. Let's see if he can disperse somebody. He does. These Sama 35s are getting dispersed. That's good because the French only rally on a 3 down. They're only morale C. Okay, other German fire phase. Nothing going on up here. Okay, here's going to be some fun, hopefully. Come on, where's this stupid town that I'm about to erase from the map? These guys have all fired. They're not going to get to shoot. These guys can still shoot. That's going to be 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. Plus 10 plus 10 equals 26. Plus the 5. The 5 is going to shoot at the anti-tank gun, so I'm leaving him alone for now. This infantry gun. This is that tiny, tiny, short-barreled 75mm infantry gun that you see in all the German infantry battalions. One of the most underappreciated weapons in World War II, especially for the Germans. It's an ugly little duckling, but I swear to God, every battalion had one, and that thing was useful as hell. That's the only real firepower, direct fire firepower that was integral to the German infantry battalion. They often got away with it because they had so many MG-34s. Their infantry platoons, their infantry companies had their own integral 5cm mortars. They're not Granatwerfer 34s, I think it was. And then battalion also had a battery of 80mm or 81mm mortars, 8cm mortars. So I'm going to use it now. That doubles to 6, doubles to 20, 26. Plus 6 more is 32. Can't fire, and I'm going to shoot him at something else. So 26 plus 6 more is 32. Okay, I'm going to get a little bit more cagey with this. I want to knock out that anti-tank gun. I got tanks parked well. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 40 tanks parked within range of this anti-tank battery. It's a 25mm anti-tank battery. I mean, come on. But nevertheless, I want to knock it out. It's worth 3 points. I just realized before when I was counting 7 to 1, guys, 7 times 3, 7 times 4 is 28, not 21. I just realized I screwed that up. I kind of hosed the French a little bit to the south, but I still rolled well enough where I would have killed them anyway. So if anyone comments in the stream later or in YouTube later, yes, there was a math mistake back there, but it wouldn't have mattered. But let's not make it again. I want to get to 21. So there's 20 and one of these Mark 1s. So 22 is firing at him. 7 to 1 odds. I have to add 1 for his wooden buildings. He's smoked. Or automatically. Boom. Toast. Okay, that leaves everybody else to shoot at the infantry platoon in there, which is a lot less of a threat. 1, 2, 3 times 2 is 6, plus 6 more is 12. 2 to 1, I have to add 1 to the die roll. Yeah, I could technically kill him with a 1. A 2 normally would kill him, but he's in wooden buildings. It becomes a 3. He is only dispersed. Okay, meanwhile... Oh, other German... Okay, so that's going to be it for German direct fire. We now go to German movement. 1, cat attack. Close assault against pinned down French infantry. Why? Because they're there. And they're exposed, they're in the open, there's nothing that can really take opportunity fire against them. So there's going to be a close assault there at the end of the turn. The Germans, not knowing that French artillery is coming in, advance this way. They are judicious not to advance into the... Well, no, that smoke screen has now landed. They can get into their own smoke screen. And now is when the French are going to take their opportunity fire. That 5 remains at 5. That's 7. That guy doubles. No, he doesn't double, but he gets 2, 2. Another 2. There you go, Jen. There are some not quite motorcycles, but are not quite bicycles, but some motorcycles. But the motorcycle has a rifle on the back. That guy's carrying a rifle, so he still gets an attack. So 1... Ooh, they don't have line of sight, though. Okay, we'll all engage one of these guys up here. That way everybody can shoot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 13. That mortar using direct fire doubles to 6. 19 against 8. 2-to-1 odds. He is pinned down. Oh no, he's going to get pinned down, and guess what? There's French artillery about to land on him. Whatever. It's almost like someone had a plan. And there's a crap load of opportunity fire up here, so let me just mark that so I don't forget. Come on, machine. Okay. Other French... No, it was French opportunity fire. Other French direct fire. Blocked by buildings, blocked by smokescreen. Oh no, we're still in German movement phase. Sorry. Oh god, yeah, German movement phase. Get the hell out of here. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, he had to boogie out of there fast. So here's where you start playing Bocage, peekaboo. Let me move him a little bit closer. He's technically in range there. I doubt he'll do anything, but let's back these guys up. So Germans get access to what's called the split move and fire rule. It is rule... It's like half... no. Come on, it's in here somewhere. Functional mobility for turreted AFEs, Rule 16A. Okay, so certain vehicles in certain time periods, as indicated on the unit function table, are allowed to, once they fire in the movement phase, they can, or in the fire phase, they can then move half of their movement in the subsequent movement phase. The Germans have it in 1940, the French do not. This is where you really, really start to screw down into differences between German training and tactical flexibility and the not so hot Allied versions thereof. Okay, there's practically no soft targets down here for the Germans to engage, so that Mark III, or these 2 platoons of Mark IVs that fired are going to spend their 1, 2, 3, 4. They're going to start moving north because there's a lot more soft targets up here where those 75 howitzers do a lot more damage. Those L-24 assault howitzers. One, 2, 3, 4. Just to make sure these clowns don't try to flank me too much. We are going to pull back a little bit. Okay, we already pulled back that 1. But I don't want to get too close to these Salvo 35s. We're going to continue to flank the French position down here to the south. 1. Now they did fire, unfortunately. So 1, 2, 3. They're going to stay put there. You can't see me because I'm in woods, and I did spend a quarter of my movement in your line of sight. If he wasn't, If he hadn't fired, I may have even managed to overrun some of those Samo 35s while they're still pinned down. So, I mean, I'll go ahead and skip to the end here. This is pretty much where the Germans just really start to keep the pressure on. At least that's the idea. So notice I'm using range here to divide French fire. I can only shoot at 2 hexes. The enemy can only shoot at 2 hexes. So I'm going to carefully position my stuff here. All my stuff can hit a French target next turn. All these French units can't, well, those two can. Most of these French units can't hit me next turn because of the way I'm taking advantage of this salient down here to the southeast. So you divide enemy fire by range. You can divide fire a couple ways. By angle of your attack, by range, by distance, if the enemy is accommodating and how he's got his stuff deployed. You can do it by terrain. These are the little tricks in the Panzer Leader. And what makes a great wargame, Panzer Leader certainly isn't the only great wargame. But what makes these wargames good, what makes a good wargame, is when, oh, you're just being gamey. You're just doing that because it works in the rules. You're just doing that because it says that on page 15, paragraph C, or whatever. Yeah, but if your rules are built and tested in such a way where that encourages real battlefield tactics, operational doctrine, and actual combat behavior, that's exactly what a good game is supposed to do. A good wargame is supposed to do. All right, so yeah, we're going to wrap things up for the German turn. We'll do the French turn super fast. A lot of this was already fired, opportunity fire. French artillery is going to land on these 2 hexes. That is 2 batteries at 7. The difference is it affects everything in the hex automatically or individually. So first, that northern one, 2 1-to-2 odds at no modifiers. Oop, get that dice out of there. Okay, the first artillery lands in. Oops, get in the box. No effect, second artillery. He does not kill, it's 1-to-2 odds. He is now pinned. Now the one that lands, when the artillery is also landing on the pinned unit, we're going to subtract 1 from the die roll and a double D will kill him. A 4 becomes a 3 on the 1-to-2 table. I don't think that's enough. 3 on the 1-to-2 table. He barely got away with that one. Oh, man. Okay, meanwhile, the other French artillery is landing on... Come on, machine. Is landing on... come on, I said. The other French artillery is landing on these guys. Okay, so it's going to be 3 more 1-to-2s. I'll roll them separately, though, because there is an engineer in there. So 2 infantry units, 2 infantry platoons. 1-0. 1 is pinned down on the 1-to-2 table. And then on the platoon of pioneers. Also pinned down. That had been a little bit more on the nose, that would have killed. Okay, I never did this close assault. 2 versus 6 is 1-to-3. Becomes 2 versus 6 is 1-to-3. There's no engineers in there. Subtract 2 from the die roll. Subtract 3 from the die roll because he's dispersed. I'm close assaulting a pinned down unit. So 1-to-3, subtract 3 from the die roll. That becomes a 0 on the 1-to-3 table. I think that's a kill. Adjusted 0 on the 1-to-3 table equals a double D, and he's already dispersed. That is smoked French infantry unit. Cool. I only kind of thought of that because the French are going to do a close assault as well. Once I can organize it here. Let me not do that. Okay, so did the Germans do any opportunity fire while they were doing that? No, because they want to save everything for a close assault. Okay, the problem is that 2 has already fired. Oh, both those 2s have already fired. Never mind, I can't do that. I can't do any of that. I forgot all those guys fired. Well, technically this guy didn't. So I'm just reorganizing the French backfield here a little bit. All right, what else is going on here? French direct fire and French movement. He's pinned down. He'll try to rally. Again, he's a morale C. He rallies on a 3 or less. He does not. He stays pinned down. Now he's really in trouble. Oh, boy. This Hotchkiss is going to do what he can. Because he opportunity fired in turn 1. He has not yet fired in turn 2. Okay, here he goes. He doubles to 10 versus a 5. 2-to-1 odds. He has to add 1 to his die roll because of the woods. If he rolls a 1, he blows up a platoon of Mark IVs, some of the most powerful German tanks on the table. How lucky are the French today? Not that lucky. In fact, that 4 becomes a 5 on 1-to-1, on 2-to-1. Okay, he is barely dispersed. So the Germans are starting to get kicked around a little bit. And there's another tank there, but he can't see anything. French movement. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, he gets the overrun. Here's the problem. He's going to get a hell of a lot of opportunity fire. These 5 platoons of Mark IIs all double. So that becomes 5 times 2 is 10. Times 2 again is 20. Plus these 2 up here makes 24. 4-to-1 odds on 1 platoon of Salma 35s. Smoked. More French recounters. Oh my God, Jim, what are you doing? Why are you having the French like commit suicide? Oh no. Trust me, they're not. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now that hex is full. That's all they can do there. So that is going to be 12 versus 15. That is... There's got to be another way I can get guys up there. But believe it or not, there is not. Damn it. Okay, that is 12 to... Actually, they kind of can. 1... Where were they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They can do it. Cool. You have to get adjacent to the enemy with 2 movement points left over. Because we're using Arab Israeli Wars overrun rules, you don't have to actually overrun the unit. Okay, so now we're looking at 18 versus 15, 1-to-1 odds. That's the 3 6s versus the 3 5s. 18 to 15, 1-to-1 odds. 2-to-1 odds for overrun. Subtract 2 from the die roll. Come on. Viva la France! You've got to do it! 4. That does it. 4 minus 2 for the overrun becomes a 2. It is read as a 2. That 2 on 2-to-1, because again, you go from 1-to-1 to 2-to-1 on an overrun, are kills. That is 3 platoons of German Mark IVs, or I wish Mark IVs, 3 platoons of German Mark IIs smoked. Kaboom. And yeah, the Germans were taking some pretty awful tank losses on that day. And they've now kind of cracked the German line. As you can see, there's this little French salient here. And they're soon to be overlooking and possibly well, they won't overrun, but taking under fire the kind of what I was afraid of, the rest of the German artillery. Here's the problem, though. The first thing the Germans are doing on turn 3... Mommy, what's that weird noise that we hear in the sky? Why did everyone start shitting their pants all of a sudden? I don't understand what's happening. Why won't this move up there? I'm probably moving something else. God damn it. Oh, what else is going to go wrong today? Yeah, there's going to be a crap load of air power coming in on turn 3, which we won't get into because the stream's already going on too long. But yeah. So the French would then try to rally some S-35s. Again, I'm kind of jumbling up the turn sequence here because I'm just trying to get through a turn. Those two battalions. Those two platoons of S-35s to the south. One rallies, one doesn't. That one there in Hex 1412 does not rally. So out of these 3, 1, 2, 3 platoons of S-35s, only one rallies. And yeah, this would kind of be what we'd see through the rest of the game. This German guy never really got a chance to run away, but he would have done that during his movement phase. Yeah. Okay, so you guys get the idea of what this kind of would have, or what this would have turned out like if you went ahead and gamed through the whole thing. I've done this game in a couple of different versions, a couple of different times through the years, or I should say through the decades. It's a very famous tank battle. It's literally the first scenario you play in the original Panzer Leader 1940 rule set, or I should say scenario pack. It's a lot of fun, lots of maneuver, lots of tanks. It's one of history's very, very few open field tank-on-tank clashes. You don't normally see that kind of thing in real warfare. It's usually tanks breaking through and overrunning against some other kind of positional defense. The whole idea of tanks fighting in an open battlefield against other tanks happens with startling rarity, especially in World War II. It doesn't actually happen that often. But there we go. Okay, so keeping up here with Mr. Chat here. I agree with your analysis on what is a good war game. I find that very true with a campaign series. Yeah, I've heard good things about that. Awesome presentation, Jim, says John Pierman. Thanks very much. I appreciate the kind words very much. Very kind, Perfidious. Jim is definitely a counter-making master. He puts a lot of work into them, says Jen. There is much shouting coming from the office when he's doing his counter-making. Come on now, you're making me sound bad here. Really nice counters compared to the 1940 counter set. I'm kind of getting these out of order. From Perfidious. Oh, Perfidious Albion. How you doing? Welcome to the chat. Yeah, thanks very much. We never did kind of go into it. But in the unit construction table, or part of the game, we kind of went into, what units were there. A lot of these are the same value that we see in the original, I think it's Raymond Cruz counter set. I just did maybe a tweak here and there. Again, when I play under different editions of Panzer Leader, sometimes the WEC means that I have to adjust the values so that the unit behaves properly. Like in true Panzer Leader, in original Panzer Leader, there's no such thing as AA. It's an H class, like a Verbal Wind or a German, Flak 20 or something like that, or Quad 20. That's all considered an H class weapon. Well, that's not really true. There's a lot more aircraft in the game when you play with expanded unit counters and so on and so forth. You have to have anti-aircraft as a set. And of course, we got the Germans. So a lot of these silhouettes come from imaginativestrategist.com to give credit where credit's due. And then using Photoshop again, I put them onto different graphics for the counter itself. I put a little bit of a shadow effect so it kind of looks like it's a 3D counter a little bit. And there you go. Cool. So thanks everybody for all the comments. Was this one of de Chalamon's ancestors? I'm not sure, Jen, but someone just blew up 15 German tanks. I really love watching your site, says Perfidious Albion. Thanks very much. It's great to see Panzer Blitz, Panzer Leader, Arab-Israeli War live on Tube, or love on Tube. Yeah, I do it a lot, actually. I try not to run Panzer Leader every week because the rest of the community would get sick of it pretty quickly. But I run it pretty much whenever I can come up with an excuse to run it. We also do, in all seriousness, a lot of Valor and Victory. Once in a while, we do actual Battlefront in miniatures. Sometimes we do, there's Air War C-21, there's Naval Command. There's all kinds of games that we play to put on a show for the community. So entertaining watching later on a large screen. Yeah, this stuff does look good on a big screen. I'm playing it now on a 30-inch TV monitor. like right up to my eye. But when I watch it on a like 50-inch Phillips or something like that, it looks pretty badass. Okay, guys. Oh man, we're now at 8:08. Thanks very much, Jen, for the update on our subscriber count. Speaking of which, guys, if you're watching this channel, again, we don't always do Panzer Leader. We do kind of spread the love around between different game systems, but I do loves me some Panzer Leader. Daddy does love his Panzer Leader. So we do a fair amount of Panzer Leader. Anything between 1939 and 2025, and I mean that literally. So it's fun to try. We also have live games, although those take friggin' forever. So I keep those games much smaller than what we saw here. So yeah, if you're not subscribed, consider dropping a subscription. We would really appreciate it. If you're already subscribed, please consider dropping a like on the video. That really does help us out because the more likes our videos get, the more the algorithm notices us, the more YouTube realizes that people actually like to watch and interact our videos. Likes count almost more than watches. So once we get a bunch of likes, the algorithm notices us and it populates us to more other viewers' suggestion feeds. And more people see our stuff, and once they see our stuff, they tend to subscribe. I'm happy to say we've kind of got some proof on that. Our numbers are climbing with pretty regular speed now. So we've actually got some momentum. So please drop a like if you enjoyed the content today. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. In any case, thanks very much for coming out. Thanks for all the great comments in the chat. If nothing else, we definitely appreciate that. Our normal streaming day is Wednesday. Clearly, this was Wednesday's stream a day early. Wednesday, I have other business, I'm sorry to say. I got friggin' jury duty of all things. So I'm not going to be able to stream tomorrow. Hopefully, I will not get selected to be on a trial, which means I get to go upstate and see some family on Thursday and Friday, although even that's up in the air now. So, yeah, there's not going to be any stream on Sunday. We normally stream on Wednesdays and Sundays. However, on Sunday, we will have some recorded content for you guys I'm going to put out. It's already edited. It's in the can. I hope you guys enjoy it. But for now, we're going to go ahead and take off. So we are rounds complete, everybody. Tango Mike for listening. This is Rich Skinny Jim signing off for the Sitrep podcast. As always, thank you everybody who came out. Thanks very much for watching. We'll talk to everybody very soon. Enjoy the rest of your week and try not to get axe murdered on Friday the 13th that's coming up. In all seriousness, guys, take care, be safe, and we'll be in touch very soon. Thanks again.